Meeting will come to order. Please take your seats.
Just reading this.
Okay.
I'll embellish a little bit.
I just want to.
I appreciate it. Cover my butt over here.
Thank you. Okay, the meeting will come to order. I've inspected the return of service and find that the warrant for this annual town meeting has been properly executed by the Board of Selectmen and served by a town constable. We are in session. To begin this evening's meeting, I'd like to call forward Caitlin Boyer, who's a sophomore at Littleton High School, to lead us in the national anthem. Well, I think she's probably going to do the singing. I don't know about the rest of us, but Caitlin.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll get things started here. As you came in tonight, I hope everyone grabbed the copy of the town meeting report or brought the one that was mailed to you with you. You'll need that for tonight's motions. Also, there was a yellow update sheet that contains some revised motions since that went to print. And additionally, there's a substitute motion for Article 22. But we'll get to all of that in time. Also, on your way in, there are copies available of the town annual report for 2017. And please feel free to take one home with you. You see the cover displayed on the screen here, which leads me to my next presentation. The cover of the annual report was designed by a junior at Littleton High School, Ms. Sarah Gordon, and I think you can agree she did a fine job with that. And we'd like to bring Sarah forward at this point in time for a presentation.
Nice job, Sarah.
Okay, and then an additional bit of information as you came in. There was a piece of paper in the lobby that contained vacancies, a list of vacancies of town boards and committees and so forth. And if you have interest in serving in town government, please take that home, look at some of the boards that need some assistance, and see if you might be able to volunteer some time. Thank you. All right. We are in session in the annual town meeting. So you should have your town meeting report and your yellow update sheet for certain of the motions. We're going to repeat the procedure that we used successfully in the last 2 or 3 town meetings, and that's the call of the articles. And that's a process by which we go through the entire warrant right up front, and we find out which articles folks came to talk about and which ones they care somewhat less about. They're usually more kind of mundane, routine bits of town business that have to be done on an annual basis, but are kind of non-controversial, don't engender a lot of discussion. So if we can separate the non-controversial from the more interesting, we take a single vote on all of those non-controversial ones, and then we get back to the main business of town meeting. So, all right, the procedure is described there on the screen. We're starting with the annual town meeting. As close to 7:30 as possible, we're going to adjourn to what's called the special town meeting. Our tradition is that we embed a second town meeting within the annual. So at a certain point, we'll break and go to the special town meeting. We usually get right about to the end of the Finance Committee's report before we have to do that. Okay, and the rules of debate, informal though they may be, proven to be pretty successful. 10 minutes for main presentations, 4 minutes if you wish to speak in favor or in opposition. And each speaker gets one bite at the apple. You get to speak once per article, unless there's no one in line. But we generally think one shot at is good for most folks. And I don't think we'll have to invoke this tonight. I hope not. But our new procedure is no new articles after 10:30 p.m. unless, in my opinion, there's a good chance we can finish by 11. And we'll kind of take we'll look at where we are at 10:30 if we're still going strong, and whether we want to continue or whether we want to adjourn to another evening. So with that, we'll go to the call of the articles. So I'm going to read through just the titles of the 25 articles on the annual town meeting warrant. And if there's something on there that you came to debate or you have a question about, you should say hold. When I read that article, put your hand up and say hold, and we'll definitely hear you. And then we'll come back to that held item. Everything is not held, we're going to vote as a bundle. We're going to presume there's unanimous consent to pass everything that there was not a hold on. All right. Let's start with Article 1, Town Officers. Article 2, Annual Reports. Article 3, FY 2019 Revolving Funds. Article 4, FY 2019 Operating Budget. Article 5, Use of Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund for 2019 Excluded Debt. Article 6, FY 2019 Water Enterprise Fund. 7, FY 2019 Park Recreation and Community Education Enterprise Fund. 8, 2019 Capital Items from Available Funds. 9, 2019 Community Preservation Budget. Hold on Community Preservation Budget. Article 10, Fund Collective Bargaining Agreements. Article 11, Personnel Bylaw Amendments. 12, Stabilization Fund. 13, Capital Stabilization Fund. 14, Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund. 15, Trust Fund Grants. 16, Senior Citizens and Veterans Tax Work-Off Abatement Program. 17, Use of Mass DOT Chapter 90 funds. Okay, hold on, number 17, Chapter 90. Article 18 has been withdrawn by the Water Commissioners. 19, borrowing, new well field and water treatment plant at Whitcomb Avenue. 20, zoning, adult use marijuana bylaw. Hold. 21, tax title properties, abutter land sales and conservation. 22, voter petition, town bylaw amendment, plastic checkout bag reduction. Hold. Okay. We've identified the ones people want to talk about. 23, town bylaw amendment, historically significant building demolition. 24, borrowing authorization. 25, compensating balance agreement. Okay. All right, if I have this correctly, there were holds placed on Article 9, community preservation budget. Article 17, Chapter 90, funds. 20, zoning amendment for adult use marijuana bylaw. And 23, town bylaw amendment, historically significant building demolition. Oh, I'm sorry. 22, plastic checkout bag reduction. Okay, were there any, I didn't hear any other holds. All right, then, I'll entertain a motion to approve the articles in the consent agenda, consisting of Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 21, 23, 24, and 25. So moved. Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, the ayes have it, and I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. All right. We're running ahead of schedule for once.
We had a few two-thirds vote on there, so we just need to declare.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so I declare that the items in the consent agenda passed by a two-thirds majority. Madam Clerk, please so record. All right, we can proceed.
Since we just adopted the budget, we're going to need the income presentation.
Correct. All right.
They've been very happy with the way the town. Hopefully, Mr. Gardner will.
All right. Well, that brings us all the way to Article 9, actually, in the warrant. So if we could move to there. And it begins on page 33. All right. And there are two separate motions under the community preservation article rather. And the first of which you'll find on your yellow sheet under Article 9, Community Preservation Budget. There's a slight change to what's printed in the warrant. And I'll read that motion to you now. Moved and seconded by the Community Preservation Committee that the town vote to approve the appropriations and items, reserves itemized and described in Article 9, items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8, as printed in the warrant. So item 7 has been withdrawn. So I'll ask the Community Preservation Committee to make a presentation. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mitt Wanzer, 39 Mill Road, Community Preservation Chair. I just want to say a lot of our work in Community preservation this year wouldn't be possible without available funds made available to us through the efforts of the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator and town accountant. We'll be looking later on at the special town meeting article having to do with the use of blended funds. So our budget for the third or fourth year has included some of those funds. So our spending this year in these 5 or 6 items are administrative expenses. Typically, these often are hardly used or not used at all in a given year, in which case they're added to the following year's budget. An example of a use for administration funds might be to arrange for a building inspection, for instance. One of the articles that we're bringing this year, funding for the 12 Robinson Road purchase of the Baker House, is an example of when we've used administrative funds to pay for a service that would aid our work. Number 2 is debt service for prior issues, $90,000. Number 3 is reserve, $37,000. Number 4 is number 3 is open space reserve, one of the categories for allowable spending. Number 4 is community housing reserve, $37,000. There is an undesignated reserve in our budget of $9,000. One of the projects that we're bringing for, tonight is regional housing services. This is $5,000 to aid in the town's work as a participating partner in planning services that help Littleton comply with requirements in maintaining our affordable housing stock. And that's an allowable item for community preservation to spend money on, $5,000. The other item here that we're looking at is number 8. If you would, could we go forward 2 slides? Item 8 is is a project to restore cemetery monuments, similar to one shown here being done a year ago. This is phase 2 of our project. About 8 or 9 stones in a cemetery will be restored, along with some monuments at Liberty Square. That's all, Mr. Moderator.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard with respect to this article? As I mentioned, there are 2 motions, the first of which is on the floor currently. Yes, sir.
Jared Opio, New Estate Road. Years ago, the monument restoration work at the old burying ground used to be a combination volunteer effort under the guidance of professional conservators. And that was very educational to everybody involved, both the conservators and those folks helping out. Is this going to be that type of an effort? And if so, when would the work be done?
Mr. Moderator, to the question, I don't believe that part of the project involves the use of volunteers. Someone from the Littleton Historic Commission might be able to explain it in more detail, but this would be similar, I believe, to the work carried out in last year's project, which was of a similar scale and was also funded by the Community Preservation Committee.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
John Kurzwick, 171 Hartwell. I noticed on the slide presentation that there was an item number 9 for $250K. Is that part of the motion?
It is not at this point. There'll be a second motion for item 9 separately. Right now, it's items 1 through 8 with the exception of 7, which was
Okay.
withdrawn.
Thank you.
So that's what we're talking about right now. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Linda Stein, Historical Commission and CPC. I'm responding to the question about the cemetery work. Years ago, there was some grant money available and volunteers were used. That grant money is no longer available. Also, last year and this year, we have professionals doing some very specific, detailed work that professionals know how to do and volunteers wouldn't know how to do. So that's part of this, this funding.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak before we go to a vote? If not, all those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries by a unanimous vote, and I so declare. Thank you. All right, motion number 2 under this article is in your town meeting update, and it's moved and seconded by the Community Preservation Committee that the town vote to approve Article 9, Item 9, acquisition of Baker Homestead, 12 Robinson Road, as printed in the warrant. And this requires a 2/3 vote, and you'll see that Community Preservation Committee, the Board of Selectmen, Historical Commission, Master Plan Implementation Committee, Cultural Council, and the Finance Committee, who voted very recently, all support motion 2 under Article 9. Yes, sir.
Thank you. The Baker Homestead is a significant historic property in the Littleton Common area, and the Community Preservation is recommending that town meeting award $250,000 for the purchase of this property. In community preservation, the Community Preservation Act allows for a number of different goals. A chief one is the preservation through acquisition or restoration of historic resources. So the property itself, which is for sale, is a historic property in the Littleton Common area. It's a 17th or 18th century house. Work is being done to document the actual date of its construction and to point out some of its key historic features. The slide shown here, for example, shows the antique hearth in the central chimney of the homestead. This property is could be acquired with $250,000 from the community preservation funds. The ownership of the property would then be held by the town, and it would be in the Board of Selectmen's purview to overlook its use and holding the deed for the town. With the purchase of it using CPA funds, because this is an allowable spending of historic resources, of funds for acquiring historic resources, the purchaser is bound to put upon the property a deed restriction, a historic preservation deed restriction that would be attached permanently to the property. That deed restriction is a constraint that is put upon the town to maintain the property in its historic state. The whole, although it is a constraint and it makes the property less desirable for some uses, it is explicitly the purpose of this motion that we preserve a historic property in town, and that we wouldn't want any other outcome, for instance, demolition of the property, just for the sake of releasing the land for some other real estate use. The property is notable for many historic and architectural features. It would be a gem or a jewel in the crown, if you will, of the Littleton Common. There are a few buildings like it in downtown Littleton that are either for sale or that are so close to the village center of this age. It is one second, please. The outline in yellow shows the location of the property. It's on 12 Robinson Road, which is right across from Middlesex Savings Bank. And you can see in the photo, the aerial photo to the left, the triangular areas are the village common. And the property is about less than 1 acre. And I want to highlight a couple things about its purchase, and then we can answer any questions or debate the merits of the project. This project has the support of multiple boards in town. It has support from the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, excuse me, the Littleton Historic Commission, the Littleton Cultural Council, and the FinCom. The project will help bring to life some of the goals of the Littleton Master Plan. The Littleton Master Plan cites ideas relevant to redevelopment of the common. They envision that the redevelopment of the common would happen in a way that encourages, quote, historical and cultural designations to preserve history and significant sense of place. That reference would be page 74 of the Littleton Master Plan. I have two more things to point out. Also in the master plan, they cite that community preservation funds should be used to support redevelopment and reuse of historic properties around the common. That's page 177. And on page 116, the master plan also calls for the town to take proactive measures to preserve historic assets, specifically for the need to identify potential at-risk buildings before they are threatened. So, Mr. Moderator, we would love to bring this to a vote. It's a spending of $250,000 to preserve an antique house. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to Article 9, Item 9 at this point? Yes, sir.
Happy Atkins on Newtown Road. It's wonderful to have this old home, kept by the town. How long has it been empty? I'm sorry, how long has it been empty?
Okay, does someone have that information?
I don't have that information, Mr. Moderator.
Okay.
The thing is that if, do you have a schedule of rehab of this building? I don't want to see us purchase a building and just let it sit there and get all mildew inside and deteriorate. I know you're going to have to do a lot of restoration work, but we don't want to let it sit, if we spend $250,000, we don't want to just have it sit there and go downhill from where we own it. So do you have any schedule or costs of renovation or anything like that?
Mr. Moderator, I want to thank the questioner for the question and address that. We don't have specific plans for it. The Community Preservation Committee, for instance, nor do we have a partner with a specific plan right at this time for the property. That is because the chief goal of this article would be to get the asset into town hands, the purchase price being relatively reasonable, or cheap you might say, for $250,000. By securing the property, the town would own it, we would have to own it, we would have to place upon it the historic deed restriction, and that alone would meet the goal of all these committees in town that support this for the preservation of the home. Then there's a range of possibilities that are available. To have a project in place. There are a couple out there. I'm sure there are people who can speak to that. People in the community have already envisioned some of the potential benefits to having this property and how it might be used. To have them implement one of these plans would require partnership with the owner. That would be the town, we would assume. So there's a number of things that the town can do. We could contract with a nonprofit, for instance, to run the building according to their plan. to serve for either historic education or as a museum. Again, there's a variety of possible projects that could be done like that. Another outcome, and again, I know your question your question was specifically about projects or how, whether we had a plan for it.
Yeah, my
Another-
thought was to get it to a point where it could be used as a historic building, and they could, you know, start doing things like what you were talking about.
Yes.
There's got to be a time in between the purchase and being able to open the doors and say, okay, now it's a viable historic building, so.
Yes, Mr. Moderator, the question is about specific projects, but if nothing happened in the short term, the town would be on the hook to ensure that the deed restriction would be followed. We'd have to secure the property to make sure that it was well cared for. And then one of the possible things that could happen, it could be sold. The town would be able to regain some of its investment. If we thought of $250,000 as meeting a goal for preserving this property, whatever we could get back from that would allow us to say that a goal was met, and we used community preservation funds to ensure that an asset wasn't lost. So it could be that the town owned it for a short period of time, 1 or 2 years. It could be that it become part of the parcel, another jewel in the crown of Littleton Historic Properties.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just a minute, sir. I'll note for the record, it's 7:30 now, but we're going to finish debate with this article and take a vote before we adjourn to the special town meeting. So please continue.
Jared Alpieri, New Estate Road. It's kind of a follow-up to the last question. Has there been any structural assessment or inspection of the building right now, and what condition is it in, and what kind of repairs would have to be done on an immediate or a long-term basis?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Moderator. There has been an inspection report done by a professional building inspector, and it outlines in 4 or 5 pages a number of things to be done. The range of issues with the house are issues that could be characterized as poor quality, others that are passable and or sound. The property needs a paint job, as evident in the photo, and it also needs a new roof at some point, and there's many other little items to address. So we have an inspection report in hand, but we don't have, we have sort of back of the envelope estimates, but nothing, I don't believe we have a quote right now from a contractor, for instance, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir?
John Kerswick, 171 Hartwell. My question pertains to, I mean, yes, there's a lot of old homes throughout the area, but my question is I mean, is there any famous person that has lived in this house, or any unique architectural findings in this particular home that make it warrant a $250,000 investment versus just selling it on the market and, you know, getting some real estate taxes instead?
Mr. Moderator, I'll let other people address some of the details. I'm not very familiar with for instance, who's lived there or the age of the house, but people have looked into that. Certainly we'll hear some of that tonight, I believe, but I do want to emphasize, in part of your question was, why couldn't we let someone else take this on? There is, by this mechanism, using the $250,000, we guarantee that historic deed preservation would be placed upon it. If on the open market it could be sold and anybody could dispose of the property however they want, even if they just wanted 1 acre of land in the downtown area, there's nothing to say they couldn't demolish it. So I can't emphasize that enough, that that's the goal of, the sole goal right now of this project.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that, you know, the point is it's worth saving? I mean, and versus the real estate taxes instead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Gabrielle Eidenwild, 123 Harvard Road. A couple of things. One, I want to put on the record and thank both Cheryl Cowley and the current owners, the Furbacks, for their generosity to allow the town to purchase this at significantly below market price. That generosity needs to be recognized. Also, I wanted to reiterate again that this photo that you're seeing is literally in the master plan as the poster child for historic character and historic preservation for Littleton. The master plan that we voted on as a community, that we wanted to maintain our historic assets, that's the house that we've pointed to. Now we have an opportunity to save it and preserve it and bring it into and use it as a community asset. I wanted to mention that this house predates the Revolutionary War by at least a generation, if not more. That date again still needs to be worked out, but there is at least potentially reclaimed wood from a house that was built in 1673. Either the house itself was, or there was a beam from some other local structure that was used to build this property and build this original house. Then the barn itself was rebuilt in built in 1880 something, also with reclaimed wood. So there's a lot of significant history here that's just architectural mystery and historical mystery upon historical mystery. And I want to point out too that the more time that passes, the fewer houses of this age exist. The faster demolition happens, the faster things fall apart. We have an opportunity now as a town to save something that was here when the town was founded. And I think that's worth using CPA historic funds, which are earmarked specifically for this purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Nick Pellegrino, Manchester Drive. I have two questions. One, how much will the town lose in tax revenue if the town buys the house and it's not owned by a private individual? And in the inspection report, does the house contain any kind of lead paint or asbestos that may drive the renovation cost up?
Bonnie Fleck, Finance Director. The property currently has a tax bill in the amount of $5,498. However, if it's purchased by the town, the tax levy is the tax levy, and it gets divided among the remaining parcels of property. So the town doesn't lose any revenue, but the rest of the taxpayers effectively pick up the difference.
Mr. Moderator, to the second part of the question, I can't recall. I'm certain there probably is lead paint in it. There was lead paint in my house from the 20s. And I think that remedying something like that is of great concern, especially if it's going to be used publicly. There's other issues that have to do with its use. For instance, would we need parking at the site? Would it have to be brought up to fire code? There's certain things that certainly would eclipse that. Lead paint remediation, although serious, wouldn't be as costly as some of those other things. With the Community Preservation Committee is committed in principle to continuing to upkeep this property and other properties. For example, the Houghton Memorial Building, which is the home of the Littleton Historical Commission, is a town-owned property, and about 10 years ago, this town meeting voted to put a new roof on it that was historically significant and accurate to the tune of over $200,000. So that kind of ongoing commitment to our historic properties is something that the Community Preservation would certainly partner with and lead on.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Darrell Baker, 71 Grist Mill. I applaud the town for taking the steps to preserve our historical heritage here. The concern I have, though, is you haven't really articulated what our carrying cost of this project will be and any future expenditures prior to possible resale to others. And knowing that once you declare a building historic, the costs associated with doing work on that project go up substantially from standard carpentry rates there. So I'm a little concerned about the lack of a plan and how much additional expenditures are going to be required to stabilize the property and carry it and possibly take into account the eventuality we don't be able to resell it to another party for historic preservation? And your answers are quite lacking in terms of what those future costs may be. Do you have any better estimates from your due diligence in researching the future carrying cost of this project?
Mr. Moderator, I want to thank the questioner for the question. I don't have any, I apologize without naming a certain line, but I can assure you that there is a laundry list. It is a variety of items from the roof, as mentioned before, and remedying different issues, for instance, pest control and things like that. The purchase price of $250,000 is really the only hard figure we have on this right now. I'm sorry to say I don't have any more information on that. If there's another person who could reference the work done by the private nonprofit, they did some back-of-the-envelope calculations and itemized many of the things in their plan, and the inspection report that we have doesn't assign any money figures to the needed repairs.
Okay. Yes, sir.
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. Is the $250,000 just for the house, or is that for the parcel that this house is sitting on as well?
Both the house and the parcel.
Okay, so you're only going to take the house. What about the garage that attached to it? And I think there's a tool shed or a barn or something attached on the other side. What's going to happen to that?
Well, they're part of the purchase as well, sir.
So to relocate this in the common up there, what's the cost you project for transportation to transport it up there? And who's going to pay it?
Mr. Moderator, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
But I think he's referring to relocation costs, but I didn't hear that was part of the
No, it's not.
proposal. Okay, it's not being relocated is what I understand.
So there's no relocation on it?
No.
So it's just going to stay right there?
Yes.
Well, that's good, because I tell you, the cost to move that up there, as you projected earlier, there could go in the common up there. That's a lot of cost involved there. So if it's going to stay there, I really don't have any objection.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am? I'm sorry, just a second. Board of Selectmen? You have
Yes,
something?
please, Mr.
Yes.
Moderator, if I may.
Please.
So we appreciate the concerns with the cost factor with this house, but honestly, this is a unique opportunity to preserve a historical piece of Littleton, and if we don't preserve it now, it's gone forever. We acknowledge the concerns going forward about restoring the house, and if it turns out it is cost prohibitive, we will certainly take that into consideration. We just don't have all the answers yet, and we acknowledge this is somewhat of a leap of faith, but at the end of the day, we're getting a piece of property on the common well below market rate. And in the end, if the house doesn't turn out to be worth restoring, we still have a key piece of property that we're preserving in the common that we will have control over. So we fully appreciate people's concerns, but we just want you to take into consideration that if we don't purchase this property now, we will lose it forever, and we will lose a potential opportunity to preserve a key piece of history in Littleton. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Mary Ann Grenier, 76 Tehadawon. I am a member of the Littleton Cultural Council, although I'm only speaking for myself. And I want to say that speaking to the loss of taxes is important to me, because I'm hoping that this building will become part of our cultural district, that it will offer opportunities for artists to work or to be shown, other cultural happenings and events. And I can tell you, having been an executive director of a fledgling arts organization, the creative economy brings so much back to a town that you can make so much more than the little bit of taxes it would provide. And we can parlay that. We've talked about it in our master plan. We can parlay that into growing a bigger and better and more healthy cultural district. So my hope for this is that it's an opportunity for us to not only have a jewel in the crown, but to have a real anchor for the arts and for culture in Littleton. I think it's an enormously important opportunity, and I really hope that people vote to take it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Rachel Robinson, 181 Mill Road. I'm a member of the Historical Commission, and, sorry? Oh, sorry. So I know that there was a question earlier about any important person that went to the house. The house was originally, well, not originally, sorry, was owned by the first police officer of Littleton. And one day on the common, he pulled over Amelia Earhart and invited her back to his house to have tea with his wife. So she may not have lived there, but she did visit there. And that's kind of a big deal for our town. This is a very interesting opportunity for the town to really start to have a historical center in the common and to start the revitalization of the common. A lot of people really know that Concord is an important place. Littleton has history too, and history and culture and arts do attract visitors and do bring people to towns, and hopefully that can be something that Littleton will have.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Linda Stein, CPC and Historical Commission. I wanted to address the cost issue of renovation. We don't have cost estimates in hand yet. We just had the building inspection done about a week ago. I was there with the building inspector. I walked through the entire house with him. I don't have the list in front of me, but there were quite a number of items that he listed as in good condition, and quite a few items he listed as in fair condition. There are a number of things that need to be done, such as the roof and some other items, but for a house of this age, it was a very good building report. I also want to say that CPC funds can be used to renovate this house, to restore it. So that is one option for the restoration work. And if we do partner with a nonprofit, which may very well happen, some of the nonprofits we've talked to are interested in looking at grant money and raising capital funds on their own for what they'd like to use the house for. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, yes, sir.
Rick Finley, Beaverbrook Road. I was under the impression that the historic preservation restrictions basically were controlling the view from the street and not involved in interior renovations. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Mr. Moderator, no. They can be applied to anything that is developed through the writing of the plan. So the deed restriction would be written as a collaborative effort between the owner and the person who would hold the deed restriction. It would need to be approved by the Massachusetts Historical Commission, but it would outline in its report form whatever is the goal of the deed restriction. And for instance, it would include the facade. As was mentioned earlier, it's a signature look, and as a photograph it just evokes history and the look of the house, the whole house itself. A piece like the hearth, the antique hearth, would be something that, if it were documented and were of the same age of the main part of the house, it would be probably worth noting in the deed restriction that it be preserved as well. So it really depends on how the restriction is written, and the town of Littleton would have some control over that. It's just that it needs approving. Whatever plan we come up with would need to be approved by the Mass Historical Commission.
Question 2, is this the first historic preservation restriction, deed restriction, in the town of Littleton?
I don't think it is. We had one in place for the Littleton, for the Baptist church in town, whose clock face tower was supported, and so they hold the deed restriction as part of their property. It was something that we wrote, or they got help writing through the grant that helped restore the clock face, which is
over the
I understand
counter.
that. I'm really referring to historic houses in town, things we're trying to preserve here. I believe it is. I've been trying to instigate something for several years on some houses that were coming up for sale. But anyway, I live in a 1750 house myself, and I can't tell you how wonderful it is. And though somebody will come and buy this as a bargain, and there's a good chance that it's going to cost us nothing. But anyway, saving it is really important.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Cheryl Cowley Hollinger, 44 Tehadawon and 319 Great Road. I'm a real estate broker in town, and the Furbecks, who are the current owners, do have another offer in the wings that's $75,000 more than they are offering to sell it to us for. This property is zoned commercial. If we don't buy it now, it will be gone forever and could certainly become a parking lot or a strip mall part or something else in the future. This is our opportunity, folks, and our only opportunity. Mr. Moderator?
All right. Yes.
The only thing the Furbecks have asked for is that there be an Ethel Furbeck Memorial Garden in honor of their mother.
Thank you. All right, I think we're ready to move to a vote. That's all right. Does the Board of Selectmen have a...
So just quickly, just to recap, just so people realize, we can purchase the property, we can put a deed restriction on it, and we have options. We can then sell it, or we can lease it out to a 501c3 who's willing to take it over, restore it, and preserve it. But right now, if we don't purchase it, we have no options, and it's gone. So I think really what we're asking for right now is to expend the CPC funds, which are designated for projects like this. Let us purchase it, let us weigh our options, and see where we can go with it. And there will be a deed restriction on it, so it's not like we're going to buy it and flip it and it's going to turn into a chain store. So the objective here is to preserve a historical piece of Littleton. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll now proceed to a vote for motion 2. And please keep in mind, this is an acquisition of land that requires a 2/3 majority. Moved and seconded by the Community Preservation Committee that the town vote to approve Article 9, Item 9, acquisition of Baker Homestead, 12 Robinson Road, as printed in the warrant. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. It passes by the necessary 2/3 majority, and I so declare. Thank you very much. Now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the annual town meeting, convene the special town meeting, and once we've disposed with the special town meeting's business, we'll re-adjourn to the annual town meeting. Moved in second? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Inspected the return to service and find that the warrant for this special town meeting has been properly executed by the Board of Selectmen and served by a town constable. We are in session. There are 7 articles on the special town meeting. As you'll see in your town meeting booklet, Articles 1 and 2 have been withdrawn by the Board of Selectmen. So we'll begin with Article 3. Well, actually, I'm going to do the call of the articles here as well to see if we can do some business with that. I'll read through Articles 3 through 7. Please hold on any article that you wish to discuss, debate, or otherwise speak to. All right, Article 3, appropriation of bond anticipation note premium. 4, stabilization fund. 5, FY18 appropriations, stabilization fund into blended and community preservation act fund. 6, establish special injury leave indemnity fund for payment of police officer or firefighter compensation or medical bills, funding from stabilization fund. 7, home rule petition, and you'll see that there's on your yellow update sheet, the substitute motion for the home rule petition is printed in its entirety. So that is what would be discussed this evening. I didn't hear a hold on Articles 3 through 7. Is that accurate? Hold on 7? Okay, I didn't hear either one the first time, but I'll believe you. Okay, then we'll take a vote on Articles 3, 4, and 5 at this time. All those in favor of the motions contained in the warrant in your booklet for Articles 3, 4, and 5, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. The ayes have it. Articles 3, 4, and 5 passed by the necessary majority. Thank you. Now we declare them to be votes. We'll start now with Article 6. Okay, Article 6, it's been moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to accept the fourth paragraph of Section 111F of Chapter 41 of the General Laws, added by the Municipal Modernization Act of 2016, and establish pursuant thereto a special injury leave indemnity fund for payment of police officer and firefighter compensation and medical bills, and further to transfer the sum of $350,000 into said special injury leave indemnity fund from the stabilization fund. Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Special Town Meeting Article 6 is pretty straightforward. We are establishing a fund in the unfortunate event that one of our police or firefighters are injured on duty. This fund would move $350,000 from the stabilization fund into it, and the Board of Selectmen is in favor of this article.
All right. Thank you. All right. You'll note that it requires a two-thirds majority. You'll note that the Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen both support Article 6. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to Article 6? Please come to the microphone.
Harvey Atkins, Newtown Road. I'm not opposed to anyone getting, covered for a major injury, and especially the fellow that did this last year. Does Littleton, are they self-insured? How do they set up for injury and that kind of thing, especially if you had 5 people get this kind of an injury and have to be supported for the rest of their lives? How does the town cover that?
Okay, thank you. Finance Director?
Mr. Moderator, through you. Currently, the town is not self-insured. We're in a group insurance called MIA, Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Agency, with a lot of other municipalities. However, this is dealing with 111F benefits, so if we have a police or firefighter that's injured in the line of duty, their normal insurance will not cover those expenses. That has to be borne by the town because it's injured on duty, and that's under Mass General Law. So creating this fund gives us a reserve so that we don't have to budget for the worst case scenario. In many cases, you can keep this fund, it rolls over year to year if you don't use it. You can add to it if you need to for larger expenditures, but I look at it like a reserve against these types of expenses.
So if a person is injured other than on duty, they're covered, but if they're injured on duty at a fire, then they're not covered?
The insurance does not pay the benefit, the town pays the benefit, so we would have to pay those bills directly. We do have insurance, a separate insurance that covers them up to another $100,000, but once that threshold is reached, then the town has to pay.
But not to this extent?
Correct.
I see. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, George Sanders, 672 Great Road. I'm not against this article, but I have a question as to why we just limited municipality employees to the fire department and the police department. What about the gentleman over there at the highway department? What about some of the other departments? If they slip and fall in the building there, why don't we include them in here instead of just limited to 2 because you're going to have to pay?
Yes, Finance Director.
Thank you, through you two again. In those circumstances, workers' compensation insurance does cover those benefits for those employees. Workers' compensation specifically does not cover police and fire. 111F insurance covers police and fire, and there are limits on that. And the town cannot purchase insurance to fully cover them against these types of losses. And it's just the way that the state law is written for these different types of duties. So those highway workers, they are covered. They're covered under workers' comp and
well, that was
as
my
are the others.
concern.
Okay, just a note of clarification. The vote on Article 5 required a 2/3 majority, and I do declare that it did achieve the necessary 2/3, so that is declared a vote by a 2/3 majority. Okay, yes, Board of Selectmen?
I just had a quick comment.
Yes.
To the previous speaker, through you, Mr. Moderator. The Budget Director spoke to 111F. That's Mass General Law, Chapter 111F. I'm sorry, Section 111F from Chapter 41. So the state governs this as far as what Ms. Fleck was speaking to. So we are limited as to what we can do. And to your point, compensation, workman's compensation covers the other employees. Just wanted to reiterate.
All right. Thank you very much. We can proceed to a vote if there's no one else that wishes to be heard. Because this involves a transfer from the stabilization fund, it requires a 2/3 majority. All those in favor of the motion as read under Article 6, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. It passes unanimously and thus satisfies the 2/3 majority. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Article 7, which you'll find the text in its entirety on your yellow update sheet. Slightly different from what was printed earlier. And I'll spare you a dramatic reading of the entire thing if everyone will go along with that. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the General Court for special legislation as set forth below. And then what is below is obviously the text of the Home Rule petition. All right, Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Article 7 files a home rule legislation for a special act authorizing the payment of certain retirement, health insurance, and or other benefits to injured on-duty firefighter Scott Holt. As was referenced by one of the previous speakers, Mr. Atkins, Mr. Holt was, firefighter Holt was injured on duty, and these benefits would be paid after his retirement. The town's collective bargaining agreement with the fire union has long provided the town's obligation to pay hospital and medical expenses for an injured on-duty firefighter, and it continues after their retirement. Labor Council has opined that the town needs to obtain statutory authority for this, so that's why we're here before you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard regarding Article 7? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. It requires a simple majority. All those in favor of the motion exactly as printed on your town meeting report update sheet for the motion under Article 7, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed? The ayes have it. It passes unanimously, and I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion to dissolve this special town meeting and return and adjourn rather back to the annual town meeting? So moved. All right. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, this special town meeting is now dissolved, and we are back to the business of the annual town meeting, and we are all the way up Before I do that, I was remiss, I missed a recognition earlier in the meeting, in a presentation, and we'd like to do that at this time, if you'd indulge us. Thank you very much. Selectman DeCoste and Planning Board Member Mullen have a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Say a few words.
Ed Mullen, Chairman of the Planning Board. We want to give a special recognition to Mr. Crowley, if he'd please come forward, for 10 years of service on the Planning Board, although he did an extra couple of years of service in other locations of the town. Richard served the town well. He was a boatload of knowledge, and we respect him, we appreciate him, and we appreciate his service to the town. And you can see that I am wearing a local official's building inspector shirt, where he is the official building inspector.
I guess I'm a rose between two thorns. I just wanted to say Mr. Crowley has been a tremendous asset to our community. He's served us well, not only 10 years on the planning board, many, many years in the PMBC. Have the pleasure of serving with him on the PMBC and on building committees for this school, the Russell Street renovation. Mr. Crowley has been a tremendous asset to us, and he's going to be sorely missed in the planning board, but we just wanted to recognize him today. I'll let you present a plaque in recognition of 10 years of service on the Littleton Planning Board, May 7th, 2018. Richard always likes the mic.
Just 2 words. Step up. It's worth it. Volunteerism in this town is one of the greatest experiences you can do in a lifetime, let me tell you. I've had a great number of years with a lot of really, really talented and wonderful people here. So, step up. We can use your help.
All right, thank you. We are now up to Article 17 in the warrant. Use of Mass DOT Chapter 90 funds. Someone had a hold on this article. I'll read the motion. Moved and seconded by the Board of Selectmen that the town vote to appropriate funds available in the amount of $397,966 for authorized road improvements and other projects provided for under Chapter 90 of the general laws. You'll note that the Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen both support Article 17. Does anyone wish to be heard regarding this article? Board of Selectmen?
I don't want to get in the way, but just to summarize, annual appropriation of state funds to reimburse the town for road improvements for 2019, which we will receive $397,966 in Chapter 90 funds. And as Mr. Moderator mentioned, both the FinCom and the Board of Selectmen voted in favor, and ask you to vote in favor as well. Thank you.
All right. Anyone wishes to be heard regarding this article? If not, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion passes unanimously, and I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. Okay. What remains before us are Article 20 and 22. So we'll turn to Article 20, which is a zoning amendment sponsored by the Planning Board and Board of Selectmen for adult use marijuana. And very rather lengthy bylaw, which again, you all have the text, and I will not read that to you. So we'll go with the motion moved and seconded by the Planning Board that the town vote to approve Article 20 as printed in the warrant. And you'll see the Planning Board, Board of Selectmen both support Article 20. Part of any zoning changes, the Planning Board is required to hold a public hearing. So we'll now hear from Mr. Mullen of the Planning Board regarding that hearing, and then any other comments he wishes to add.
Mr. Moderator, we'd like to present this zoning bylaw change or addition with an amendment also. Everything as written except for 173-199. I think you can read it up there where we're making a few changes. Under B, the special permit granting authority, we'd like it to read, may reduce the minimum distance requirement in section 173-198A as part of an issuance of a special permit following the instances only. And then if you go down to line 1 under B, it's to be reread as not co-located but to an entity within an existing RMD in Littleton. Line 2, renewal of a special permit for an existing marijuana establishment where the use described in section 173-198A has been established after issuance of an original special permit. Line 3, change permit holder from existing marijuana establishment where the use describes section 173-198A and has been established after issuance of the original special permit. And then add line 4, where such reduction in a minimum distance is necessary for purposes of maintaining consistency with Mass General Law, C 94G 935 CMR 500, and/or state guidance relative to local regulations and citing of adult use marijuana establishments.
Okay, that's the Planning Board's amendment. You see it on the screen in front of you. It would be inserted at 173-199, Section B, Item 4.
It would be my amendment, not the Planning Board.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you...
I was speaking as a resident on the amendment.
All right, well, let's...
My apologies.
Let's back up half a step here. Did the Planning Board hold a public hearing on this bylaw, and what was the result of that?
We did.
Okay.
And the Planning Board voted to support the change in the zoning.
Okay. By a vote of... unanimously?
It was unanimous.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it wasn't. We had one no.
Okay. Just need to hear the report. Okay, and then independently, you're making an amendment to add this section.
Correct. I attended a citizen planner training where we reviewed the CCC regulations, and some of the wording that we had put in our bylaw probably wouldn't pass a challenge in the court.
Okay, so this was suggested, this language was suggested by the state, is that?
Correct. This is the CCC regulations that we're trying to match up with.
All right. All right. There's a motion. Is there a second for that? All right. All right. The debate now will be on the amendment to the bylaw as a whole. So anyone who wishes to speak to this amendment specifically? No? If not, I'll take a vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment as proposed, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed? No. Okay, the ayes have it. The amendment passes by the necessary majority. Okay. Can we get that amendment in writing, please, just so the clerk has it? All right, now debate is open for the entire bylaw as presented with the amendment. So, yes, please go ahead.
Yes, Jenna Brownson, Harvard Road. I have a question about section 173-199 located on page 47. About halfway down in section A, it talks about marijuana establishments not being located within 500 feet of, and there's a very long list of things there. My question is, does this in effect make it the case that no place in town would we be permitted to have marijuana establishments? For instance, I live on Harvard Road, which abuts the Oak Hill conservation land, which I think could be considered other public recreational land. In that regard, does that mean that I could not operate a marijuana establishment out of my home if I so chose to do?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mullen?
With the amendment that I just proposed, it would not prevent you from doing that. What we're trying to do is, like I said, as Ed Mullen, am trying to present the bylaw change that lines up with the CCC, which basically limits the regulation to K through 12 at 500 feet.
Okay, so then it's similar to the criminal laws relative to school zones and not limited to things like hiking trails behind my house.
Correct. We had the same debate during the establishment of the grow facility with the Liberty Square in the debate whether it was a park or a monument. So it's the same thing. We pushed it through because it isn't a park. It's a square that is a monument. It's an important one, but it's not a park where kids recreate.
Okay, so by complying with what you're saying, the regulations that will come down statewide, this then doesn't abrogate state law?
Correct. One of the requirements of the CCC is that you can't increase the distances from K through 12 or any other. The state won't allow it. You'll be outside the guidelines and bound to all of their rules and regulations.
Okay, so provided that my house is not within 500 feet of a school, I can grow pot?
You can anyway.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to recognize Selectman Gerbig for the Board of Selectmen.
I just wanted to give a little bit of background for what this is doing. So this zoning bylaw allows a variety of different marijuana establishments in town. What we see up here, the retail establishment overlay. So part of the zoning bylaw establishes that retail establishments, which is sale to consumers, can only occur in certain zoned areas, and those are the hatched areas that we see here. But this zoning bylaw also contemplates and allows other types of marijuana establishments, including growing facilities, including R&D, including, I don't know, there's 6 or 7 different versions of marijuana retail establishment, or marijuana establishment that is not direct sale as outlined here. And so what this zoning bylaw does is, depending on the type of marijuana establishment, establish where that is allowed to take place in town. And ultimately we got here because the town of Littleton approved the statewide ballot measure affirmatively 55-45-ish or something like that. So what that means is that we now have to take some action with respect to marijuana establishments, and this is the action that the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board have elected to support. Other towns that didn't vote in affirmative are taking different actions. You may have heard of different things. That's not relevant to here in Littleton. And essentially what it comes down to is, if we didn't take some affirmative action to allow some type of marijuana establishments in town, our other alternative would be a wholesale moratorium on marijuana in town, which would include or require both town meeting consent as well as a ballot measure. And so what this does is, as far as what the Board of Selectmen, who voted for it unanimously, and the Planning Board, who did not vote for it unanimously, what this does is it allows us to sort of control where those different types of establishments occur in town. The most significant, as far as folks tend to be concerned of, is the actual retail sales aspect, which is outlined here. So.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Jim Curran, 236 Taylor Street, next to Sanctuary Medical. I wonder if someone could clarify for me, what is the effect of the entire article on the number of prospective retail establishments or other establishments, if any number is prescribed or not? Thank you.
So it's calculated through the number of liquor licenses that we have available in the town, which ultimately limits to 2. So we grant no more special permits than 2 for this establishment. I also wanted to make note that one of the things, if we do vote in favor of this in the zoning change, not only are we entitled to, as a town, more money from the establishment, we can add on, I think it's 3% that they have to pay originally, and we can add additional monies to that through the special permit with a host community agreement. So if the select board and the planning board come, it is a sales tax. Okay, adopt the sales tax up to 3%. Thank you, Mr. Burbank.
All right. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Quick question, that the zone along the Westford line, I believe that includes the point by my read, doesn't it?
Correct.
And do both of these zones include keep-out zones based on the existing locations of churches and other areas that would provide the keep-outs? Like I know, I think it's the Baptists that are right up in the center of town? Or the unit?
No, right? Just K through 12, right? K through 12. Right. So the 500-foot rule applies. That's all. So yes, they would be protected in the, as you worded it, keep-out zone.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Angus Michael, 61 Dahlia Drive. I wonder if the planning board has taken a long-range view as we vote to establish marijuana facilities, a long-term view of the health consequences such as addiction and so on that come from marijuana use. If someone could clarify that.
Okay, thank you.
So with the planning board, I'm not a health agent, but I can tell you that the CCC has taken those considerations very seriously, and I know that the marijuana establishment, whether it's retail or medicinal grow facility, there are requirements that they need to meet through the state regulations.
Okay, could you tell us what the CCC is, just
Cannabis
so everyone
Control
knows?
Commission.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard regarding Article 20? It's a zoning bylaw amendment. It requires a 2/3 vote. If we're ready to vote, we'll proceed. Okay, it's been moved and seconded by the planning board that the town vote to approve Article 20 as printed in the warrant and as amended here this evening. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Passes by the necessary 2/3 majority for zoning amendment, and I declare it a vote. Thank you very much. We will now move to the final article on the warrant, which is Article 22. There is a substitute motion for Article 22. It's a citizen's petition. I hope everyone picked up this white sheet as you came in. Says Article 22, voter petition, town bylaw amendment, plastic checkout bag reduction, and it has the petitioner, Tracy Cutter's name at the top of the sheet. Does everyone have that? Okay, because that will be the motion that's on the floor. It's been moved and seconded by the petitioner that the town vote to amend the town code by adding a new chapter 140 for the purposes of regulating the distribution of plastic bags at retail establishments and promoting the use of recyclable and reusable bags as follows. And then the front page and the rear page are the text that follows those. That is the proposed bylaw, which I will not read to you since you have it in its entirety. And I know that Ms. Cutter has a presentation that she'd like to make at this time.
The next one
Goes back.
goes back.
Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Cutter and I live at 72 Hartwell Ave. I'm going to take the first few minutes to tell you a little bit about why we brought this bag bylaw to town meeting, and then the rest of the time I will get into the details of the bylaw itself. Okay, so first of all, we felt it was our environmental responsibility to take some responsibility for the many bags that are out there that are plastic. I'll tell you a little bit about the plastic itself in a minute. But basically to keep harmful plastic out of our parks and conservation lands, to protect marine animals and other wildlife, and to prepare our town for a cleaner future. Plastic living. You've all seen the pictures of seagulls and turtles and all kinds of animals caught with plastic around their heads. That's part of it. I didn't show any of those, I don't have any of those pictures today. But plastic bags, we all know, we see them everywhere in the trees, flying around, and on the cleanups and everywhere else. They're a major litter problem. Plastic bags are mistaken as food for by both domesticated and wild animals, and birds, turtles, whales, sea lions, a variety of animals have problems, ingest them, and die or are injured as a result of plastic bags. 10% of the plastic produced every year worldwide ends up in the ocean. 70% of that finds its way to the ocean floor, where it will likely never degrade. Every square mile of the ocean has 46,000 pieces of plastic floating around in it. We're not just talking about plastic bags, but all kinds of plastic. There's a big plastic problem in general. Plastic bags are manufactured using non-renewable fossil fuels, oil and natural gas. So those are some of the reasons why we decided it was time to bring this bylaw to Littleton. Let me tell you a little bit about the details of the bylaw so you know exactly what you're voting on tonight. I know it's been a little bit confusing because we did change the definitions of the bags since the warrant was printed. So, but I'll go through it all so you know what you're voting on. First of all, the definition of the checkout bag. A checkout bag is defined as a bag that is provided to the customer at the point of sale. We're not talking about produce bags that you might put your meats in or your fruits in from the produce department. We're talking about the bags when you get to the checkout counter itself. So those are the only bags. The other produce bags are exempt from the bylaw. The retail establishment is being defined as any business facility, whether for or nonprofit, that sells goods directly to the customer, not limited to retail stores, restaurants, including but not limited to retail stores, restaurants, pharmacies, convenience stores, grocery stores. So it includes a wide variety, and hopefully will make it a fair across the board. Okay, so this is the tricky part here. This is what we've changed. The new definitions are great. They are good. It's a good bylaw. But this is what we had. I wanted to show you what was printed originally and what's changed. This is the original one. First of all, the bags that could be dispensed would be paper bags with those criteria, also reusable bags, and then produce bags, and then laundry bags and newspaper bags. Okay, if you look at the first definition, it says 100% recyclable, that's the paper bag, is made from no old growth fiber, contains at least 40% post-consumer recycled content, and displays the words recyclable and made from 40% post-consumer recycled content in a visible manner on the outside of the bag. That definition would stay the same except for one little phrase there where it says is made from no old growth fiber. That we got rid of. It's not necessary. It's the rest of it is great without that. And that definition of the paper bags is pretty much used in all of the bag bylaws that are around the state. There's now about 72 bag bylaws that are that have passed, that are either have already been adopted or that have that are actually recently been adopted and haven't quite made it into circulation yet. So, okay, so the reusable bags. Let me go to the next slide. This is the bag. This is the one that we've changed considerably. The reusable checkout bag. When I say considerably, we changed the language, but the intent of it is the same. It's just better. So it's a better definition, and this is why we made the change. So it's, I'm gonna get to my, that's on your new sheet. I'm just gonna. Okay, so the reusable checkout bag would be a sewn bag with stitched handles that is specifically designed and manufactured for at least 175 uses. It can carry 25 pounds over 300 feet, and it's made from cloth or other machine washable fabric other than polyethylene or polyvinyl chloride. So it sounds like a lot, and it sounds like a lot more. It sounds more intense. It actually opens us up to allow more reusable bags because it now allows polypropylene bags. Before we had just said cloth bags, and that doesn't allow many reusable bags that even the grocery stores sell. They're plastic. They are polypropylene. So that's why we did it. These definitions are the ones that are being used by the state bag bylaw that is in the works now. It hasn't been put into law yet, but it is it's moving through the state legislative procedures now. So if this passed and if that passed, we'd be right on target with them. And there's a good chance it will. Okay, a couple more minutes. So the definitions are good, they're sound, they've been well vetted, and we think it's a very good bylaw. I should say that all the 72 communities that have passed bylaws, all the bylaws are a little bit different. This is part of why the retailers associations and a lot of the agricultural associations are wanting a state law to be passed so that there will be some uniformity, particularly for these businesses that operate businesses in, many locations throughout the state. So a state law would be great, but we don't have that yet, may not get it, and if we do, it'll be a couple of years. We feel it's important to take as much of this plastic out of the mainstream as we can. So I want to reiterate, it's the checkout bags. I think there's been a little bit of confusion with, could you get your produce bags? Can you still put your meat in a produce bag? You can. You just have to bring it up to the checkout counter, and then if the store wanted to give you a bag, if you bring your own bags, you can bring as many. If you want to bring your plastic bags, your polyethylene bags in, you can bring as many as you want to. It's just that the stores would now need to only give you, as a checkout bag, a paper bag meeting those requirements. So if you bring your bags, that's great. It's actually a lot better than paper bags. I want to say paper has its problems. It's not perfect. It is biodegradable, which makes it a whole lot better than plastic. Bringing your own bag is always better to take that to take all that plastic out of the environment, or as much as we can. I think that's it. Yeah, I guess I'll also say recyclers hate plastic bags. It's very hard for them to deal with the plastic bags. They get caught in their machinery. They get very tangled. People try to do the right thing and put their recycled bags. They try to recycle them. It doesn't always. Very few recyclers will actually take plastic bags now. There's not enough of a market. It takes a lot of plastic bags to make any product worth selling. There's just not enough of a market. It doesn't seem like there will be. So recyclers, it's their number one problem now, along with the problem of foreign countries not taking as much as they used to take. But those two things are really giving them a hard time. And I also want to say the implementation in early adopters towns was smooth. There have been a number of towns to do this and to put some kind of a bag law in place, and it's gone relatively smooth. The Board of Health would be the ones in charge of finding a business that had a problem with it and with enforcing it, but there's been very little of that in the other towns. Most industries have, and most retailers have...
Excuse me, could you begin wrapping up your
Oh,
remarks?
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, it's gone well in the other towns, and we think it's time to move it into Littleton. Thank you.
Okay. We now have a presentation in opposition to Article 22. I recognize Mr. Del Priore.
Good evening. My name's Jerry Del Priore. I'm just a concerned citizen, and I was interested in the science behind the debate. We've heard over and over again how horrible plastic is to the environment, how it's non-renewable, and so forth and so on, and I wanted to test that hypothesis. And what I did was, went out on the internet, looked for a number of studies that looked at the total cost. It's called life cycle, and that looks at not just whether something was made from a renewable or non-renewable, but the total cost from the raw material, either in the ground or in the forest, through end of life. And one of the interesting things we're going to find is the main cost isn't whether it's trees or natural gas, it's everything that goes into converting those trees into paper and the natural gas into polyethylene. And the key things that 4 different studies done for government, industry, environmental groups, they all say the same thing. Paper may be renewable or may have come from renewable resources, but it has a far greater impact in terms of the total cost to the environment. And these are some statistics. Paper takes about 125 times the water of plastic. It uses about 3 times the electricity, and interestingly enough, about 1/3 more fossil fuel, and that includes the fossil fuel going into the plastic feedstock. The other thing to consider, a paper bag is 5 times the material. That's 5 times the material you got to create, use, transport, and ultimately dispose of. And yes, plastic bags are difficult to recycle, but they are recyclable. In fact, a couple of our major grocery stores have take-back programs, and they're incredibly reusable. I dare say a lot of you folks, I know I do, reuse them 2, 3, 4 times. That makes them a resource, not a waste. And the studies show that a plastic bag needs to be, or paper needs to be reused about 3 times, and cotton about 130 times to get down to the same environmental impact of polyethylene. You say, well, how can this be? And the main thing is the transformation from raw material to finished product. Paper is incredibly wasteful. It's got a huge appetite for water, energy, and all of that consumes non-renewable resources. The thing with plastic, it's very efficient. There's very, very little that goes to waste out of a barrel of oil or a cubic foot of natural gas. They use everything. And by the way, polyethylene can be made from renewables, it's just not cost effective right now. And again, now let's look at cotton, which was called out in the original bylaw. That can be an environmental disaster because of the tremendous amount of fossil fuels needed for the fertilizers, the pesticides, the water, and the land. Well, how much plastic are we talking about? I ran some numbers. If you assume 10 bags a week, 52 weeks a year, it's about 7 pounds worth. To put that in perspective, that's about a gallon of gas or a gallon of heating oil. In other words, you drive 30 miles a year less than the average car, or turn down your thermostat a fraction of a degree, you've saved more fossil fuel than you have in a year's worth of plastic bags. And again, paper's going to be 5 times the material, greater environmental impact. Now what about end of life? We keep hearing over and over again how plastics leach toxins into the soil. Well, the polyethylene that your bags are made out of doesn't do that. I mean, they make water pipes out of it. The water coming into your house goes through polyethylene if your house was built in the last 50 years. They make mill chugs out of it. The other thing, too, is our solid waste is burned for energy. And there again, polyethylene is going to burn a lot cleaner than paper, and there's a lot less of it. You don't get any ash. You get ash from paper. And plastic bags have got a lot more opportunity for reuse than paper. Well, we've heard so much about plastics in the ocean. There was a National Geographic article that took a look at the composition of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is kind of the poster boy for improper disposal. The interesting thing they found was abandoned fishing gear was #1. And that is, nuts, is kind of unintuitive, but that stuff is incredibly destructive because it's designed to trap and kill, and it keeps doing that year after year, even after it's cut loose. Garbage bags are such a tiny portion of this that it's not really an issue. And again, we look at it in Littleton. I did kind of an informal survey of the trash alongside the roadway at the high school. And most of it was food packaging. There was maybe one or two grocery bags, and one of them said Dunkin' Donuts on it. And that was out of probably 100 pieces of trash. And I'd like to know from the highway department how many storm drains you've had to unclog due to plastic bags. And another thing to look at, they amount to maybe 0.5% of Littleton's solid waste. That was covered briefly in an earlier slide, and that was based on number of transfer station stickers and the amount of solid waste going through. And the thing with litter is it's improper disposal. If you're at all careful, your bags aren't going to get in the ocean, they're not going to get in the environment. Well, these are some of the consequences. A lot of this has been rendered moot because they got rid of the no-growth prohibition. Now, the definition of reusable bag, one of the things they bring up is you got to show that it's reusable 175 times. I'd like to know by what standards you're going to apply for that. That can be an enforcement issue and a potential problem for buyers of it. The other thing to think about is the natural fibers are really incredibly environmentally intensive, and actually the use of woven plastics, and I don't know the rationale for excluding polyethylene, is actually much more efficient. And keep in mind, these reusable bags do have to be cleaned. That's more water, that's more energy, that's more impact on the environment. And the 10-cent bags, which don't meet the standard of reusable, I presume they could be sold, but you'd have to inconvenience consumers by moving them away from the checkout, which moves them away from point of sale. And these are some of the things to look at in terms of a ban. It does restrict consumer choice. Right now, if you want to use paper, feel free to use paper. You want to use an empty box, bring your own bag, that's fine. This ban basically imposes the will of this small body on the whole community. The other thing too about paper is it's more likely to tear. And again, it's a lot less reusable than the plastic. And as we pointed out before, it does have a greater environmental cost, both because of the amount of material, again back to that 5 times, and the incredibly environmentally intensive nature of its manufacture. And you start inconveniencing people, and they're going to start shopping with their feet. A plastic bag ban by itself probably isn't enough, but it is just one more thing. And there are alternatives. Plastic bags are recyclable, provide that opportunity. What you have to do is collect them separate from from the other plastics. A couple of grocery stores do have take-back programs. You could codify that, require it, and simply public education to manage the materials separately. And these are the conclusions. On a life cycle basis, that plastic bag that some people despise actually has less impact than the so-called eco-friendly alternatives. And basically, an interesting point is, we'd be banning these bags at the grocery store, but what are you gonna have to take your trash to the transfer station in? A non-reusable plastic bag. And right now, even at 70 communities, it's maybe 20%. So this isn't an overwhelming movement. It's still a minority of towns. And the state is looking into this, and they no doubt are gonna look at the various, all of these various cost trade-offs. So really, it's up to you folks. I wanted to make sure people know the science behind the debate. And if anybody's interested, these are the various studies and references I used. As you can see, there are quite a few studies out there sponsored by a wide number of organizations. I did my absolute best to not cherry pick data. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. All right, anyone wish to be heard regarding Article 22? Yes, ma'am.
Yep, Erin Healy, 12 Lincoln Drive. I'm on the Sustainability Committee. I'm also on the Board of Health, and we both of those bodies supported this unanimously. So it's the plastic bags are moving through the environment, and they're ending up in the oceans, and they're ending up in our trees, and they're ending up flying around adjacent to the transfer station, and I think most of us, if not all of us, have seen that. So this is a movement that's been going on for, well, Germany did away with these, with plastic bags, I think it was at least a decade ago. In Europe is, for the most part, bag-free. We, on the Sustainability Committee, we looked at this about, right when we started, probably 4 years ago, and what we chose to do was go out into the community and speak to Donlands and Market Basket and the industries that use these bags, because we didn't want to do some of the things that were just mentioned and be anti-commercial or anti-business. And if between then and now, there's been a huge leap forward. I think that there is a wave in the state and nationally, and we're following it internationally to get rid of these. The businesses are proactive at this point, indicating that they do not have a business problem with it. And as far as the environmental impact, life cycle analysis is one thing, but what we're talking about is the end use. And if they're not being properly disposed of, that's the fact of the matter. And that's where the problem is right now. Please note that paper bags are an alternative, but I think most of us know that the majority of people in town are moving towards reusable bags. Also, I know that when I go, if I use plastic bags, I might have one paper bag or maybe 2 paper bags, or if I had a reusable, probably 1. If I have a plastic bag, if I'm using plastic bags, I'm taking home like 4 for 1 reusable bag. So you can look at the numbers there. So I just wanted to come up and let the voters know that this has been endorsed by the Board of Health, who would be enforcing, and also the Sustainability Committee. And I did want to offer an amendment on E, a sewn bag with stitched or woven handles. Thank you.
Okay. All right, there was an amendment offered. Was there a second on that? Second? Okay. The amendment would be under Section 2, item E, reusable checkout bag, a sewn or woven bag with stitched handles. Okay. Okay, well, debate is open as far as that amendment goes. Anyone wishes to speak to that specific amendment? It seems pretty minor. Can we just take a vote on that? All those in favor of the the amendment as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay, ayes have it, and the words "or woven" have been included in the main motion. So now debate can continue on the motion as amended. Yes, sir.
Harvey Atkins, Newtown Road. I missed the young lady's name that made the presentation. Are you a Littleton resident too? Yeah?
It's on the motion sheet.
Oh.
Yep.
I didn't see it. Well, I'm kind of opposed to getting rid of the plastic bags for many reasons. I find a lot of uses for them after I get them. I paint, I do fishing, I do all kinds of things, and the plastic bags are really handy to have, so I don't use them once, I use them 50 times. I dispose of them properly, and it sounds like this bylaw is for people that are irresponsible and don't throw away their plastic bags the right way. I use them for many, many things. I've been a townie for years. I don't see them hanging from trees. I go to the transfer station a lot, and I don't see them hanging on there like Christmas ornaments. Maybe I missed the day that they're floating around, but I don't see it. They're incinerated when they go from Littleton to the incinerator. They are not in the ocean from Littleton, and I think that the responsibility of the oceans are all of our responsibility, and I think that, you know, Littleton doesn't really have a lot of whales that get caught up in the melee of plastic bags. But I do think that it's important that we have the opportunity to speak about the problem. I really am opposed to it. It really makes me feel as though, well, I can't be responsible enough to maintain my plastic bags and not throw them out my window on my car as I drive around town. So I really am opposed to the article. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Charlotte Russell, 73 Foster Street. First, I have a question about the bags. I don't recall seeing a lot of paper bags that have that recycled material information on them, and I'm wondering if someone could speak to the availability and cost of those bags. Second, in the way the article is worded, there seems to be a gray area about my local farm stand where I go and pick up a couple of plums in one hand and a little box of berries, and when I get to the point of sale, the checkout person dumps them into a little paper bag and hands them to me. And the way it's worded, it seems like they can't do that. Now, I guess maybe they could put the paper bags over by my plums, but then they'd have to open every little bag and see what's in there. But I am getting that bag from them at the point of sale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, the paper bags are easy to get. All of the bylaws that have passed and are in use there are using this definition. They're easy to get. You'll be able to get them. As for farm sales, yeah, you could still get everything in the produce bags, but then when you bring it up there, it will be a paper bag at the checkout.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Peter Yap, Newtown Road. I've traveled extensively and have seen what the presenter of this has mentioned, especially Argentina and Venezuela, Southeast Asia, but none of them are Littleton. I've been in Littleton for a long time, and believe me, I've never seen what these people are alluding to with paper bags and plastic bags. I'm sorry. I, for years, picked up along the road, probably 60 years now, and I don't think I've ever picked up a plastic bag. I've picked up a ton of beer bottles. But some of the things I want people to understand when they make this vote, I checked into the 3 biggest trash haulers that service Littleton and the surrounding area, which is Waste Management, Republic, and Waste Not. All 3 of those companies incinerate 70 to 75% of their trash. The rest goes to a landfill. So how are those bags getting out of a landfill or out of an incinerator and going into the streams? In other words, this particular article, I think it's a feel-good article. It inconveniences both the sellers of stuff and the buyers. And I will also point out that the listing of how many different companies, or not companies, types of stores that this particular thing covers, you can go a little bit further. There's probably 30 businesses that use plastic bags. Any place where you buy car parts, like Acton Toyota, you wanted to buy parts for your lawnmower, they use plastic bags. The farm stands, they're not supposed to be using plastic bags. So there's a lot of companies that this affects. And again, when you vote for this, got to remember that you pass this, next year it's going to be straws. And after that, thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Josh Millard, 18 Deer Run Road. I want to give a little bit of background. I have over 20 years in the environmental business doing investigation remediation. I spent 2 years in the Peace Corps doing environmental investigation. I hold 2 degrees in environmental science. And while I applaud the passion and the care that went into making this this article, it is misguided. And I'll tell you why. There was a discussion about, well, why do we look at the life cycle when we can see that the plastic is in the rivers and it's in the oceans, and that might be true. But if you ignore the entire life cycle and focus on only one part of it, then you don't take into account the costs that come at the other parts of that life cycle. So here's an example. By strict definitions, when you talk about renewable resources, you can define whale oil as a renewable resource. So, you have to look at all the costs. There's a principle when you look at sustainability, and that is to look at decentralization and to look at multiple sources. And the reason that you do that is because if you put all your eggs into one basket, or in this case, one bag, you're going to concentrate the negative parts of the resource that you do select. So in this case, if we look at paper bags, for instance, and we say, we like paper bags better than plastic, because paper bags, we can recycle them, they don't wind up in the oceans, or if they do, they sink, and they biodegrade. Well, they only biodegrade if you have them in the right conditions. If you put a paper bag into a landfill and bury it, and this goes for all paper and for plastic, and you bury it, you put it into what's known as an anoxic environment, in which case, instead of having aerobic degradation, which you need oxygen for, you wind up getting an anaerobic degradation. That produces methane. Now, do you want to have methane, which is 4 times as potent a greenhouse gas than carbon? You have to consider all of this. So if we say all we want are renewable, or all we want are the reusable, you're going to highlight those problems. Now, the reusable, a lot of those are coming from overseas. So you're transporting those across large distances. That takes energy. For the recyclable, in order to recycle that paper, you're using very harmful chemicals that you're either using a lot of energy in order to recapture in your waste treatment plant, or they're getting into the environment. It's not as visual as plastic, but it's just as harmful. So, I ask you to vote no on this article.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Christine Nordhaus, Star Hill. I run a farm in town, and we have never given our customers plastic bags. They've always had fabric bags. The world has not ended for them. And also, this has nothing to do, for me, about like the oceans and whales. For me, it's about Littleton. I was a captain for the community cleanup day, and my team did the Littleton Road Race route. We started at Fay Park, went up Foster to Hattawan to the end of Long Lake, and across on Harwood back to the four-way intersection with Foster and back to the park. We cleaned plastic bags out of the end of Long Lake. We got 23, and that was just what we could reach, like squatting on the edge and pulling those plastic bags in. So it has, to me, nothing to do with what's happening in a landfill somewhere or in Argentina or in the ocean. It's what these plastic bags, these like Market Basket, whatever, grocery bags are doing to our lake. They're in there, and I can't imagine the number that are in there that we couldn't reach. I mean, it was maybe 3 feet from the shore, covered in thorns and poison ivy. They're out there. They are, it's a Littleton issue. It doesn't matter what's happening in other towns, and it doesn't matter what's happening in Europe. It's what's happening to Long Lake and to our town. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. I guess with the plastic bags, I guess you can find problems with everything, I guess. I think that as far as these bags go, it sounds like to me that if you find these bags in certain locations, it means that we have some irresponsible people that's throwing those bags out. The reason they ended up where they're getting over there is certainly something that I've been in the environmental field for a lot of years, and I appreciate the environment, and I respect the environment. And I think that the lady that put the effort into trying to educate us, that's because she has a cause. That's something that she wants to present. And I take my hat off to her. But at the same token, what she wants to do doesn't necessarily fit for everybody else as what they want to do. And a lot of people find many, many uses for the plastic bags. And of course, we live real close to New Hampshire anyway, so a lot of people go to New Hampshire, and they like to live free up there. So I would think that Littleton would like to live free too, in terms of what we can do in terms of the bags. I think that it boils down to the point that we're just irresponsible when it comes to what we should do. We know how we hurt the environment by doing these things. But we can't always pass laws to say to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that. Because a lot of times what you do, you put the burden back onto the retailers. And naturally the retailers are going to try to do what they need to do. I spoke to Market Basket here, and they told me about the program that they have. They take the bags in, they send them back. Anybody can take the bags there and drop them off there. There's not a problem with them taking the bags back to where they was issued to them. And I think that with the plastic bag itself, it may be somewhat of a problem, like the paper bag. But I think we're going to have problems with bags no matter whether they're ones that cloth or you can wash them or whatever the case is. There's going to be problems no matter how you shape it or mold it. There's going to be a problem with bags. And I think passing laws doesn't always get the job done. I think what we need to do is to educate ourselves and start being responsible and do the right thing and dispose of stuff properly. I have my trash picked up because I don't have time to go over there and take it to the dump over there. But I think that most of the people in Littleton here are responsible citizens, and I see the streets are pretty clean. I mean, you find some stuff that's thrown away, usually it's people bypassing through Littleton. Look at the number of cars come through. and naturally they throw it out at night, so I haven't seen any McDonald's or Burger Kings out here. Thank God for that. But I think that my position is, I think sometimes leave the dog that's fast asleep, leave it alone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Dina Flockhart, Gilson Road. I don't think this is a question about so much the plastic bags or the paper bags as a question of responsibility. As the previous speaker just said, we need to be responsible about the environment and about our use of resources. And what I wanted to focus on was the use of reusable bags. I got a quick question about amendments. Right now, this is not a bag I could buy under this bylaw because it has a woven strap. I'd like to add that word woven. I don't know the procedure exactly for amendments.
It was
What?
previously amended.
Oh, that's been done? Cool. But I did want to say that the reason you don't see the plastic bags beside the road is because they blow away. That's how they end up in the lakes. That's how they end up in the thorn bushes. And we were talking about laws not being followed and not being responsible. If you take a look at the dump, the number of people throwing away glass and plastic that is supposed to be recycled, it's technically illegal to throw them away. It's about enforcement, it's about being responsible, and we need to pass the laws for the people who aren't being responsible. There's a program called the Boomerang Bag Project, because one of the things that this kind of bylaw does impact is people who can't afford to buy reusable bags. And I've actually gotten involved in this project. It provides reusable grocery bags for families who can't afford to buy them. They get provided to the stores. And that's a responsible use of resources. The idea that people can't remember to bring a bag with them, I mean, I'm a culprit too, but one bag, use it for a year. Think about how many bags you could save. And it's much less likely to tear and dump your groceries all over the parking lot. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Megan Rank, Green Needles Road. I guess I just want to give the perspective of somebody who, I work for CVS Pharmacy, and I work in towns where they use plastic bags, and then I go work in Concord, and they have a plastic bag ban there, and it's a seamless transition. The difference that we see is people come up to the cashier and they have their bags with them, or they don't take a plastic bag to put their prescription in. They just, if they're concerned about privacy, they just fold the label down and walk out. So it's seamless for me to go in and work at those stores, and I think it would be a pretty easy switch for the people of Littleton to get used to. We just need to start changing our habits, and that's to me what this bill is about, is starting to kind of change our habits and being less throwaway society and just trying to reuse things more. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Paul Avella, 94 Littleton, 94 Chris Mill Road in Littleton, that is. I had prepared this evening to talk about total life cost factors, but previous speakers spoke much more eloquently than I ever could on that item. But the second one I was going to speak to is the cudgel of government. In other words, the stick, the heavy stick that this bill imposes. The bylaw would like us to use government to change our will, rather than education and a persuasiveness and make it a compelling and persuasive argument as to why we should not do it, versus using government to force us not to do it. I do not support the bylaw as written. I certainly support the petitioner's desire to clean up the environment, as do I personally. But I would say let's do it through education, through personal responsibility, as some previous speakers have mentioned, rather than being the heavy arm of the government forcing us to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, Ed Mullen, 10 Grist Mill Road. I'd like to move to a vote.
Move the question?
I'd like to move the motion to a vote.
Okay. That's a motion to close debate. It's not debatable. Is there a second to that? Okay. Requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of closing debate signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed? No. Okay. Motion carries by the necessary 2/3 vote. Debate is now closed. This is a general bylaw amendment. It requires a majority, a simple majority vote. I'm going to attempt to we'll go with a voice vote first, and I suspect it might not be conclusive. If not, I'm going to ask for a counted vote, because I'd like to get it right it's probably the closest, if you judge by the debate tonight, probably the closest article we've had. So, well, let's give it a shot anyway. Moved and seconded by the petitioner that the town vote to amend the town code by adding a new chapter 140 for the purposes of regulating the distribution of plastic bags at retail establishments, promoting the use of recyclable and reusable bags as printed in the warrant and as amended this evening. All those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. Okay, well, the chair is in sufficient doubt that I'd like a counted vote on this. It's not so obvious to me. I think I know, but I'd like to be sure. If we could have maybe 3 or 4 volunteers to help us with a hand count, that would be appreciated. Thank you, sir. Just need 3 or 4 people. Yeah, how you want to divide them up?
So you can do these two. Sherry, you can do those two. John, you can do these two. You can do the back, the very back. Yep, back two. You can do the back two.
Out the front?
Yep, very back.
What? Who's doing here? Okay. All right, all those in favor of the motion as read, please signify by raising your hand and keep it up there until you know you've been counted. All right, all those opposed, please signify by raising your hand and keep it up there until you know that you've been counted by one of our tellers. Thank you. All right, while we're tallying the votes, and this being the last vote of the evening, we'll be dissolving the meeting shortly, but I'd like to thank the school committee, school department for their assistance with tonight's town meeting. And we have breaking news. Okay, there were 88 votes in favor, 105 opposed. The motion fails. All right, thank you. And before we entertain a motion to dissolve, again, I'd like to thank everyone who had a hand in this town meeting. I'd like to thank the town administrator and his staff, town council, board of selectmen, the town clerk and her team, and finance committee, and so forth. LCTV. I'd also like to make one final recognition. People could hold their place for a moment.
Hold on, folks.
I want to recognize tonight participating and attending his last town meeting after 35 plus years of serving the town of Littleton, our outgoing police chief, Matt King. Could we give him a hand, please? Okay, thank you, Chief. I will now entertain a motion to dissolve. All right, so move second. All in favor, say aye. All right, this annual town meeting is hereby dissolved.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Keith.
Great job.